My parents declared they were gifting my sister the house. Everyone applauded. I asked, "Do you want me to read the foreclosure notice dated October 31st? The room went silent. You ever have that gut-wrenching realization that the people who are supposed to love and protect you unconditionally are actually laying a trap? Not just any trap, but one designed to financially ruin your own sister, all while making you the villain for daring to expose their lies. The air in our childhood home, usually thick with the scent of pumpkin spice and simmering resentment, was about to become charged with something far more toxic. It was Thanksgiving, and this year, the usual facade was going to shatter, not just for me, but for my entire family. I'm Alex, 30 years old, an environmental compliance inspector. I usually kept my head down, lived my life in Chicago, and maintained a healthy distance from my parents. Growing up, their favoritism toward my sister Chloe was a constant, sharp ache. I'd learned to build my own life, far from their drama, but this Thanksgiving, they pulled something so audacious, so utterly out of line, I'm still processing it. It all started 4 weeks before the big day. I was elbow deep in soil samples from a highway expansion project in Aurora, a dust mass chafing my face when my phone rang. It was my mom, Carol. "Honey," she cooed. My stomach immediately dropped. That Oni voice. It was a red flag, always meaning she needed something or wanted me to stay silent about something messy. "What's up, Mom?" I asked. My voice flat. "I just want to make sure you're still coming to Thanksgiving and that you'll be nice." I paused, setting down a sample bag, the gritty soil still under my nails. "What is there to be nice about?" "Your sister has great news to share. We're all extremely excited for her. I just don't want you to make it about yourself or start anything." There it was. Before I'd even walked through the door, I was already the problem. My mere existence, threat to their perfect narrative. I hadn't planned to start anything. I bit back. Good, because this is an important moment for Chloe and the entire family. We want things to be perfect. Chloe, my younger sister, was 27. She still lived at home in Neatville, worked as a dental receptionist making maybe $41,000 a year. She drove the car my dad, Frank, bought her, used my mom's paid-off credit card for her expenses. She'd never paid a dime of rent in her life. "I'll be there," I said, sighing, "and I'll be glad for her." "Sure, Mom." I could hear her disbelief in the silence on the other end, but she let it go. What choice did she have? I hung up and stared at my phone, a familiar bitterness rising. 30 years. That's how long this pattern had persisted. Chloe was praised for just showing up. I was interrogated for simply existing. When I was 24, drowning in student loans, I asked Frank for $6,000. He said no. Said I needed to learn the value of hard work. 18 months later, Chloe decided to travel Europe. 4 weeks, $9,500. Frank paid for the entire thing. If I didn't make a joke, I'd just shake with anger. My boss, David, a guy in his late 50s who'd seen it all, poked his head into my office. "You appear to have just received bad news. Family stuff." I mumbled. He just nodded, didn't press. That's why I liked him. "Are you going home for the holidays?" "Yeah." "Need to talk about it?" "Nah, I'm fine." He looked at me for a second, a silent assessment. "You're one of the most composed individuals I've ever worked with, Alex. Whatever it is, you'll handle it correctly." His words, simple as they were, meant more than he'd ever know. That night, back in my Lakeview apartment, I went through my files. Not work files, but the other ones. I'd been building them since September. It had started with another phone call. September 23rd, Tantad. 15 a.m. I was on site near Joliet about to crawl under a house to check foundation drains. "Son, I need to speak with you about something important," Frank had said. My stomach sank. Someone died. "Someone sick. What's wrong?" I'd asked, bracing myself. "It's Carol. She underwent surgery back in June. Insurance didn't cover everything. We're looking at around $24,500 in medical bills." I didn't hesitate. "My parents, of course I'd help. How much do you need?" "Is that all?" $24,500. Could you wire it this week?" Something felt off. Carol's surgery in June. It was now September. Why wait 2 months to ask? I pushed it down. They were my parents. "Let me call the hospital. I'll arrange a payment plan directly with them." Silence. A long, heavy silence. "We'd prefer cash. We'll handle the hospital." That's when I knew. "Frank, if there are medical bills, I will pay the hospital, not you." His voice changed, became defensive, cold. "We don't need you to question us. We need assistance. Then allow me to assist properly." "Which hospital?" He hung up. I sat in my truck for 12 minutes, heart pounding. Then I made some calls. The 4 major hospitals in the area. Inquired if there were any outstanding balances in my parents' names that matched Frank's claim. Nothing? No. 24, 500 bills in collection waiting to be paid, so I dug deeper, obtained property records for their house, cost me 75, second mortgage amount 98,000, 5 months overdue, first mortgage of 59,000 balance, 3 months late. My throat tightened, my hands shook, staring at the printout. Frank lied about Carol's surgery. Lied to get money. He lied because he knew if I found out the truth, I would break the record. I took everything I could legally get my hands on. Obtained loan documents from the county recorder. Marina's record. Frank had purchased a 36-foot cabin cruiser, $85,000 a boat. He risked his house for a boat. 3 weeks later, Chloe made a big announcement on social media using house emojis. They were going to capture her. I started making copies of everything. I'd been carrying that folder ever since. Thanksgiving morning. I was on the road by 8:00 a.m. Holiday traffic out of the city is always a nightmare. The family group chat lit up. Chloe can't wait for everyone to arrive. Today is going to be very special. Carol, Alex. What time will you be here? Me, approximately 20 as an ordered. Carol, perfect. Chloe's announcement is at 20:30. A performance has been scheduled and choreographed. A performance. That stung. I arrived in their driveway at Funson 58. Brenda's Mercedes was already there. Steve's pickup. My cousin Sarah's Honda. Kevin's parents' SUV was parked near the curb, his mother already inside, helping with appetizers. At least 17 cars. The folder sat on the passenger seat. I grabbed it, locked the truck, and walked up the front steps. Chloe opened the door before I knocked. She was dressed in a white sweater dress, hair curled, makeup flawless. More cocktail party than family dinner. You made it, she stated not warmly but observantly. Traffic had been light. She stepped aside, no hug. We'd stopped doing that years ago. The house was full. People everywhere. A football game on TV, kids running around. That green bean casserole on the counter everyone pretended to enjoy. Frank was in the living room with Chloe's boyfriend Kevin. Kevin sold insurance, made about $60,000 a year, drove a leased BMW he couldn't afford, and wore cologne that smelled like a high school locker room. Alex! Frank got up, came over, did the hug back slap thing. Good to see you, son. His eyes were on mine, trying to figure out if I was going to be a problem. I just smiled, gave him nothing. Grandma was in the corner chair, 86 years old and sharper than anyone else in the room. She watched me walk in, gave me a slight nod. She knew something was coming. I could see it on her face. I found a spot at the dining room table, placed the folder on the floor next to my chair, sat down and waited. People slowly filed in, taking seats, making small talk. Someone asked about the game. Someone else complained about gas prices. Brenda was discussing her book club drama. Steve was explaining his new truck's towing capacity to anyone who would listen. Chloe sat at the head of the table, the place of honor. Carol was to her right. Frank stood to her left. Kevin stood next to Frank, looking nervous. There was another person at the table I didn't recognize, an older woman with a professional demeanor. A briefcase sat next to her chair. Who's that? I asked Sarah quietly. No idea, she whispered back. She arrived right before you. I was across from Chloe, direct line of sight. She caught my eye and smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile, it was a winning smile. Frank stood up and tapped his fork against a wine glass. Chairs squeaked. Before we eat, I'd like to say a few words about family gratitude and the blessings we've received this year. Standard speech. Same every year, minor variations. We are especially grateful to have everyone here today, and we've got some very exciting news to share. He looked at Chloe. She stood up. Kevin stood next to her, but she was the real star here. The entire room watched. Some people had already taken out their phones, recording, waiting for the moment. Kevin's mother smiled too much, clearly trying to be supportive on camera. Chloe began speaking, her voice shaking slightly. It's difficult to say whether I'm excited or nervous. Mom and Dad are giving us their house. We'll take over the existing loans, which Dad says are in excellent condition, and begin building equity. No more renting. The room erupted in applause and cheers. Someone whistled. Brenda was crying. My cousins were all smiling and raising their glasses as Steve shouted, "Congratulations! We'll handle everything." Chloe's voice grew louder over the noise. The payments, the upkeep, the fact that we are actually building something. More cheering, more phones emerging. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Frank stood up, raising his hand. And because the lender requires signatures to complete the transfer and new loan terms, we've hired a mobile closing agent. We're going to handle the paperwork right here and now. The woman at the end of the table stood up, opened her briefcase, and took out a stack of papers. This is Eleanor, Frank explained. She does after-hours mobile signings. She is here to oversee the signing and notarization of the documents. Chloe, sweetheart, come down here so we can get started. Chloe was glowing. She stood up and began walking to the end of the table where Eleanor was setting up papers. Kevin was filming with his phone. "This is amazing! This is actually happening?" My chest tightened. My jaw started to twitch. This was it. They were going to do it right here, right now. Chloe then looked at me directly. The room was still noisy, but she remained focused. Unlike some people who leave and only return home twice a year, I have always been here. I help with the yard. I run errands. I show up, and I believe action should be rewarded. Someone laughed, then immediately regretted it. People were looking at me, waiting for my response. My cousin Sarah leaned in toward her boyfriend and whispered something. He looked at me and smiled. Steve raised his glass to the daughter, who remained. "To Chloe," the room echoed. Brenda sat down her wine glass and gave me a pitying expression. "You're not upset. I mean, your sister will receive the entire inheritance." "Should I be?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. She gave Chloe a glance. "I just think some people might be hurt." "He's fine," Chloe said with a sharp voice. "He doesn't need anything from us. He has a big Chicago life." Our cousin Jake spoke up from the corner. "That's cold, dude. You drove for nearly an hour to watch your sister get everything." "Jake, do not start." Someone hissed. "What?" "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Guy moves away, barely visits, and now he's supposed to smile while she gets the house. I took a sip of water, carefully placed the glass down, and said nothing. Steve leaned back in his chair. "Chicago made you cold, Alex. You used to be part of this family." "I am a member of this family? Are you in?" Chloe cut in, her voice edged with something sharp. "Because you think you're better than the rest of us, as if your current situation is insufficient." Someone's younger cousin, maybe 16, leaned across the table, holding his phone. "Get his reaction," he whispered, pushing it close to my face. "This is gold." I did not move, didn't blink. I looked straight at the camera. "Make sure you understand my positive side," I said, my voice barely a whisper, but it cut through the noise. "It's the only one that appears here." Steve laughed. "Sharp, I mean, look at him. Ice cold. Nothing bothers the big city guy." A younger cousin spoke up. "Could we just eat?" "This is awkward." Chloe explained. "Alex is simply being Alex," Carol said quickly. "Alex understands. He has always been the strong one." Brenda looked at me strangely now. "But Frank, this seems like a lot to give to a single child doll." "Chloe earned it." Frank insisted firmly. She stayed. "Alex made his decisions." Chloe demanded. "Say congratulations like you mean it. Do not just sit there judging us." The phone kept recording with a small red dot glowing. "Smile, Alex," Carol said, her sweet voice laced with steel. Chloe remained standing, papers in Eleanor's hand. "Pen ready." I set down my glass. "That's very generous. Congratulations." Chloe blinked. "Smile as if you mean it." "I am smiling," I stated. "This is simply my expression as I watch a train crash into a wall." Brenda touched my arm. "Are you really okay with this? Should I be upset?" I asked, meeting her gaze. "I mean, it's also your family." Hoey snapped. "He left it." "You do not have the right to leave and complain when someone else takes what you left behind," Jake grumbled. "That's harsh." "It's true. He's too good for Neatville, too good for family dinners, too good for Sunday visits. Actions have consequences." I didn't leave. I received the reward. Eleanor cleared her throat. "To be clear, these signature lines establish you as new borrowers on the loans. If we're going to do this, let's get started." Frank nodded and gestured toward Chloe. Chloe took a step toward Eleanor. I looked at Frank. He was pale, white-knuckled, gripping his chair. "Hey, Frank," I said, my voice low. "We can do this privately. Walk with me." He was frozen. "No," Chloe replied immediately. "We're doing this right in front of everyone. You don't get to take him aside and poison it." Carol's face became tight. "Alex, please don't ruin this." I offered to not ruin it privately. "There's nothing to discuss," Frank said, his voice shaking. Chloe walked back toward Eleanor. "Simply ignore him. He's trying to make this about himself, as he all last chance," I said quietly. "For what?" Chloe snapped. "So what could you possibly say?" I reached down and picked up the folder. "Okay then, let's do it here." Frank's face was drained, every drop of color gone. Carol's hand began shaking so violently she had to put down her wine glass. "Alex," Frank said, his voice strangled. "Not now. Not now. When would be better?" "After she signs." "What signs?" Kevin asked, confused. I pulled out the first document. Foreclosure notice. Large red letters, the case number printed at the top. I placed it in the center of the table, directly on the turkey platter. "The notice of default," I stated. "Filed on October 31st. There have been 5 months of missed payments on the second mortgage. 3 months for the first." Chloe stared at the document. "What's that?" I took out another page. The actual foreclosure filing timeline amounts to avoid foreclosure. The bank requests a reinstatement payment of $29 by mid-December. Following that, the combined month payment is approximately $300. That is before utilities, property taxes, insurance, and repairs. Carol has not started. Call the bank, I said, my voice cutting through her denial. Ask what is required to reinstate the loan at this address, or look up the foreclosure filing. The case number is right at the top. This is a public record. Nobody moved. Eleanor, the closing agent, was packing her briefcase. She stood up. I cannot proceed while the parties are arguing the terms and there is visible coercion. If you want to proceed, reschedule with the lender. She walked out quickly. I looked around the table at everyone's faces. The phone was recording. So, here's my question, I said, looking straight at the glowing red dot. Do you want the truth or a performance? Someone's phone kept recording. I can walk out.
Let you sign.
And let you know when the reinstatement deadline arrives. But you can't come up with 29,000, or I'll tell you now. Chloe was moving toward me. You're lying because you can't stand how happy I am. She was standing over me, pointing. Her voice was loud and she slammed her hand on the table. Silverware jumped, knocking over a wine glass. Red wine splattered across the white tablecloth. Wine bled into the corner of the paperwork. I took the folder back. Sit down, I said flatly, quietly. Something in my voice changed because she stopped talking. She remained standing but did not move closer. I took out more papers, including the recorded mortgage document, the tax lien notice, and my own text to Frank. You're not giving her the house free and clear, I said, my gaze sweeping across Frank and Carol, then to Chloe. You're only giving her debt, mortgage, and escrow. Approximately $36,000 per year, not including what breaks, not including what the county has already filed liens for. Brenda picked up one of the papers, read it with wide eyes. Frank, this is real? Where did you get this? Frank's voice was a whisper. The county recorder's office. A 75-point. Kevin was backing away, his eyes wide. Wait, Chloe, you mentioned that the loans were current and manageable. You did not mention anything about default or reinstatement. They are current. Chloe stammered, looking at Frank, panic flickering in her eyes. Right, you mentioned that the loans were in great shape. You said we only needed to sign the transfer. Frank couldn't speak. Steve picked up the foreclosure notice. This means they are months behind. Final notice? That cannot be right, Carol whispered, her face pale. It is dated October 31st. Chloe earns a $41,000. I continued, ignoring Carol. Add Kevin's salary of $60,000. Total take-home pay maybe $74,000. You would spend half of your income just to keep the house. There's nothing left for a wedding, savings, or emergencies. Sarah's mouth was open, a look of pure shock. They planned to trick her. They were going to trap her. I explained, my voice steady, but laced with a simmering fury. Kevin's face was red. You told me the house was in good condition. You stated that we would be building equity, not digging out a foreclosure. We thought we'd catch up, Frank said weakly, tears welling in his eyes. Based on what? I asked, my voice rising slightly. What has changed? What made you suddenly believe you could handle debt that you had been defaulting on for months? Silence. Kevin was grabbing his coat. I'm out. I am done with this. Kevin? Please wait. Chloe chased him to the door, her heels clicking on the hardwood. Baby, please! We can figure it out! We can. The front door slammed. His parents followed him out, voices raised in the driveway. Chloe returned 40 seconds later, mascara running and lipstick smudged. You did it! You've ruined everything! I didn't ruin anything, I explained. I read it aloud! They needed help! You should help them! She shrieked. I tried. They refused. Kevin's parents walked back in. His mother's face was hard. He will not speak to us. He says he needs space. She turned to face Carol and Frank. Were you going to do this to our son? We assumed they'd figure it out. Carol said weakly. How do you calculate foreclosure and marital debt? Grandma spoke for the first time. Her voice, though quiet, cut through the chaos like a knife. What exactly do you mean when you say they refused? Everyone stopped and looked at me. I pulled out my phone and opened the call log. On September 23rd, Frank told me that Carol had surgery, $24,500 in medical bills. They asked me to wire the money. I showed the screen to others nearby. Date, time, and duration of call. I immediately agreed. I said I'd call the hospital and arrange a payment plan. He said no. They wanted cash. That's when I realized something was wrong. I looked at Carol. I called the hospitals, asked if there were any outstanding balances in my parents' names that matched what Frank claimed. Nobody had bills like those. Nothing recent that fit. Carol's face wrinkled. That's when I pulled the property records, discovered the mortgages, missed payments, and foreclosure timeline. Chloe said, her voice shaking. You should have given him the money anyway. What will you spend it on? Additional boat maintenance. Steve's head snapped upward. Boat? I took out another document. Boat registration at 36-foot cabin cruiser. March 2021. 85,000. The room became nuclear. Steve was standing, his face thunderous. Brenda yelled, her hands covering her mouth. Sarah shook her head in disbelief. You purchased a boat? Steve's voice was powerful enough to strip paint. We thought we could afford it. Frank whispered, his shoulders slumped. Grandma stood. Her chair scraped across the floor and everyone became quiet. How long have you been hiding this? Frank finally admitted it had been 18 months. Instead of asking for help, you chose to lie to your children. We were desperate. Carol protested, tears streaming down her face. Emily admitted she was desperate enough to lie on loan documents. I looked at Frank. If they misrepresented the transfer to the lender, that constitutes fraud. You tried this on Alex first, didn't you? Brenda inquired, her eyes wide. I nodded. On May 11th, I was asked to co-sign. They called it a refinance.
Just a formality?
Have you signed? Steve asked, his voice low and dangerous. Almost. I told them I wanted my lawyer to review it first. I took out another document. I received an email from my lawyer. Subject, don't sign. She told me that if I signed, I would be legally responsible for $155, and that's when I began digging. Chloe turned to me and pointed, her face contorted in a mask of rage. This is entirely your fault. I am not ruining anything. I'm reading it aloud. You were never the important one, she hissed with venom. You were never good enough, and you can't accept that I finally won. The room became silent. That was the line. The one you do not return from. My hands clenched into fists beneath the table. Hold it. Simply hold it. Sarah's jaw dropped. Brenda appeared horrified. I simply looked at Chloe. Noted, I said quietly. The argument restarted, this time louder. Fun's out taking pictures. I stood up. Chloe looked at me, her face a complete mess. How long have you known? Since September? Why haven't you told me? She cried. I tried 3 times. You were always with them. They made certain I couldn't get you alone. You could have tried harder. I'm trying now, I said, picking up my coat. She laughed, a desperate, bitter sound. Breaking the glass by humiliating me and keeping you from signing away your life. You are welcome. Grandma stood up. Her chair scraped again, and everyone became quiet. Frank, please give me the boat keys. Frank blinked. What? I am currently in possession of the boat keys. You are not paying slip fees for another month while my grandchildren are on the verge of debt. Now, keys now, or I'll call the marina and have it impounded. Frank fumbled in his pocket, pulled out a keychain, and handed it to her. She pocketed it, then took out her phone and began dialing. Who are you calling? Carol asked, her voice small. My lawyer. We are changing my estate plan tonight. Everything is split equally between Alex and Chloe. You won't get anything until you've proven you're trustworthy. She took the phone to her ear and walked into the other room. Steve spoke up. That boat will be listed tomorrow. I know a guy who does marine sales. We will get whatever we can out of it. You can't? Frank began, but Steve glared at him. I walked toward the door. Brenda stopped me and placed a hand on my arm. Most of us witnessed it. How they treated you, different from Chloe. We didn't say anything. I apologize for that. I nodded. I didn't know what else to do with that information. You did the right thing, she said quietly. It doesn't feel like it, I admitted. It never does. I walked out. I didn't look back. My phone lit up before I got to my truck. Sarah sent a text. Brenda called the cops. Thinks there may be elder abuse or fraud. This is going to get bigger. I sat there for 12 minutes, just breathing and looking at the house through the windshield. Then I started the car and headed back to Chicago. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I received a call from Detective Miller of DuPage County. We met in a coffee shop. She was in her mid-40s, professional. She took notes in an actual notebook. Thank you for meeting. Not a problem. You are not in trouble. We are looking into your parents. There may be issues with loan misrepresentation. I walked her through everything. The September call, the timeline, the documents. She took notes, raising her eyebrows. Your parents claim you managed their finances and advised them on the property transfer. I pulled out my phone and showed her the texts. This is where he asked for money. I offered to pay the hospital. He refused. That is it. I never accessed their accounts. She took a photograph of the screen. So, they appear to be shifting liability. Do you have evidence that you were not involved? 3 years of no contact with their bank. No joint accounts, no power of attorney, and my lawyer's documentation from when they attempted to get me to co-sign in May. She flipped back through her notes. Your sister mentioned that they pushed hard for a spring wedding. April specifically, They scheduled the date before Kevin proposed. My mind raced. April would have been 7 months after the property transfer, exactly when payments were due. If your sister and fiancé were married and lived there, they would expect his income to cover the costs without telling him what he was getting into. This is the fraud angle we're looking at. If the borrowers or lender falsified occupancy or intent, they would be making a misrepresentation to both parties. What do you need from me? If it goes to court, your testimony will be truthful, which is unlikely. Most is settled. I will tell the truth. That is all I have been doing. She closed the notebook. You rescued your sister from years of financial ruin. Most people do not have anyone willing to blow up Thanksgiving to protect them. I just read the paperwork. She smiled at that. I will be in touch. Frank arrived at my office 4 days later. David summoned me in. Your father says there's a family emergency. Frank was there, looking shrunken, tiny. Alex, we need to talk. David was studying the room, eyes narrowed. Take the day if you need it. I'm good. This will happen quickly. We went outside. The wind was cold. This needs to be fixed. The detective is taking documents. They're claiming fraud. Frank pleaded. That is not my problem. We are family! You do not do this to your family! He cried, reaching for my arm. You attempted to trap your daughter in debt she could not afford. What would you call that? We were desperate. Then you should have asked for assistance. Honestly. He grabbed my arm. You can make this go away. Tell them there was a misunderstanding. I looked at his hand on my arm, then back at his face. He let go. I am not lying for you. Whatever happens right now is what you earn. She's falling apart. Your sister is not eating, sleeping, or taking medication? Because she nearly signed away her life? Or because Kevin left? I asked, my voice hard. Then she should thank me, Frank. Please stop contacting my workplace. Stop showing up here. If you need anything, please text me. I'll decide whether to respond. I walked back inside. David was waiting. You okay? Yeah. Family stuff? He nodded. You handled it well. By mid-December, the foreclosure was underway. Chloe texted I met with a therapist. She claims I was conditioned to accept manipulation, that I confused favoritism for love. It's better to figure it out now than never. Can we talk when you're ready? Christmas, I did not go home. Sarah shared a photo from Grandma's small dinner. Caption new tradition. You've been invited for next year. Grandma called that night. Chloe is staying with me. Therapy is helping. Your parents declared bankruptcy. Tell her I'll be here when she's ready. February, Frank sent angry texts. I sent one back, stop contacting my workplace. Further contact will be recorded as harassment. Then I blocked his number. David informed me that I was up for promotion in April. Life moved February 12th. Chloe texted. Can we meet? Coffee, we met in Neatville. She got there first. Looked better, healthier. Hey, she said. Hey, there was awkward silence. I am sorry about Thanksgiving. For what I said. For believing them instead of you. You didn't know. I said softly. I should have questioned it. I wanted the fantasy so bad. How are you today? Better. Living with Grandma. Figuring out who I am beyond being Dad's favorite. She laughed, a genuine, if brittle, sound. It turns out that being the favorite equals being the most useful. Noah, she continued, I've started seeing someone. He is a paramedic. I told him everything. He did not run. That's good. I miss having a brother. I'm still your brother. She began crying. I do not deserve that. Probably not, I admitted, a small smile touching my lips. But you'll get it anyway. We talked for an hour about favoritism patterns and how I was expected to handle things while she received protection. They've been paying my car payment for a year, she said, almost to herself. I didn't know that specifically, but it tracked. I thought I deserved it. It turned out I was just easier to control. They were unable to control me. That's why they went after you. Do you despise them? No. But I don't trust them, and I don't owe them my destruction. Grandma is changing her will. We'll split everything equally between us. Frank receives nothing until he proves his trustworthiness. God. We left. A cold February wind. May I hug you? She asked. Yeah. She hugged me tightly. Thank you for saving me, even if I despised you for it. You are welcome. Can we try this again? Yeah, call me anytime. April brought the promotion. David summoned me in. Senior inspector. 14% raise. You've earned it. Thanks. You've changed this year. More focused. It's obvious what you've been going through. Spring arrived. I was working on a project in Oak Park when my mom Carol called. Her voice was tiny. We need to talk about your father and I. We've been in counseling. We'd like to apologize. A real apology. Okay, can we see you face to face? Why? We owe you that, because we were wrong. I thought about it. I will think about it. Please? Your father looks different now. I will think about it. I hung up that night. I called Grandma. Carol wants to meet. They say they've been in counseling. Yes, they have. Grandma confirmed. I have been paying for it. Condition of assisting them. Do you believe they have changed? A long pause. I believe they're scared. Not the same as changed. Should I meet with them? It's your decision. But if you do, make sure they earn it. Thank you, Grandma. I did not meet with them. Did not respond to Carol's texts. I maintained the boundary. May 22nd, 7 months following Thanksgiving. Chloe sent a text. This weekend, we're having family dinner at Grandma's. She wants everyone present, including you, me including them. Chloe, she says it's time. Me, I am not interested. Chloe, I know. But Grandma inquired, and she's 86. For her, me, I will think about it. 4 days later I'll come, but I'll leave if things don't work out. Alex, Chloe Fair. Saturday afternoon, Grandma's house. I was the last to arrive. I parked and sat for a minute, wondering if it was worth it. Then I got out. Grandma opened the door. You arrived, she exclaimed, hugging me tight. Thank you. Keep an open mind, but do not accept any garbage. I walked inside. The living room was set up like a mediation. Grandma's chair at the head. Chloe was sitting with Lucas. Sarah was next to her boyfriend. Steve and Brenda sat on the other couch, and Carol and Frank on the love seat, looking smaller and older than I remembered. Frank had lost weight. They looked up as I walked in. Frank began to stand. Sit down, Grandma said, not loud but firm. He sat. I chose the chair farthest from them. Grandma sat next to Chloe. We're here because this family is broken. Grandma began, her voice calm and steady. Broken items are either repaired or thrown away. I'm too old to abandon my family, so we're fixing it. Nobody spoke. Frank, Carol, you have something to say them. Frank cleared his throat, his voice shaky. Alex, we owe you an apology. A real one. I waited. We tried to use you, but you wouldn't let us. We attempted to use your sister. We transfer our problems to our children. That was incorrect. Carol cried, her face crumpled. We were drowning. Debt house and boat. Rather than asking for assistance, we attempted to manipulate you both. We've been in counseling for 7 months. Frank explained, working out why. The stress, shame, and fear of admitting failure. We filed for bankruptcy. Everything is gone. We are starting over with nothing, and that is what we deserved. Carol added, her voice barely a whisper. You did not do this to us. We did it to ourselves. Silence. Grandma looked at me. Do you have anything to say? I took a deep breath. You did not just try to use me. You tried to destroy me. And when I refused, you moved on to Chloe. You would have let her drown to avoid the consequences. Frank said, crying, you called my job, showed up at my workplace, tried to frame me as unstable, made me the villain for telling the truth. I know. Frank admitted, tears streaming down his face. So no, I said, meeting his gaze. I do not accept your apology. Not yet. Carol's face wrinkled. What do we need to do? Prove it through your actions. Make amends. Create something real. How long? Frank whispered. However long it takes. I do not owe you a timeline. Chloe spoke up, her voice surprisingly strong. They've tried therapy, being open about favoritism, using me and treating you as expendable. That does not undo what they did, I said. No, but it is a start. I looked at my parents, really looked at them. They were broken. Not performing, just broken. You wanted the image more than your children. Now you don't have either. So what are you planning to do? Carol wiped her eyes. Whatever it takes. No matter how long, we simply want our children back. You cannot have us back the way we were. That is no longer viable. But perhaps you can try something new. Grandma spoke again. I've altered my will. Everything is split evenly between Alex and Chloe. Nothing goes to Frank until he proves he is trustworthy. Frank did not argue, simply nodded. And if Alex says he is leaving, nobody argues. Nobody guilt trips him. Anyone who violates it has to answer to me. Frank spoke quietly. I stood up. I am leaving now. This was sufficient. Chloe also stood. Can I walk you out? Yeah. We walked to the door and stepped out. The evening air was warm. Thank you for coming, she said. This is for Grandma, not them. I understand, but still, it mattered. Are you okay? Getting there? Lucas has been good to me. Therapy is helping. I'm discovering who I am when I'm not performing. Good? Are we all right getting there? She hugged me. I love you, even though I despised you. I love you too. I walked to my truck, got inside, and sat for a minute. My phone vibrated. Frank sent a text. Thank you for listening. I know I do not deserve it. I'll spend the rest of my life regaining your trust if that's even possible. I read it. Did not respond. Put down the phone, started the car, and drove home. 7 months ago, I blew up my family to save my sister. Today, I sat in a room filled with wreckage. The truth did not solve everything, but it cleared the way. I pulled into my parking spot and walked up to my apartment. It was a small one-bedroom, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Inside, I poured a drink, sat on the couch, and my phone buzzed. Chloe, Lucas would like to meet you officially. Have dinner sometime. Me, yeah. Name the day. Chloe, Lincoln Park next Friday. It works for me. I put the phone down. Tomorrow I have a site inspection in Evanston. Following that, dinner with Chloe and Lucas. Nearly 2 years later, I was celebrating Grandma's 88th birthday, a small gathering. Chloe and Lucas, Sarah with her boyfriend, Steve and Brenda. Chloe seemed different now, sharper and more grounded. She'd moved out of Grandma's house in June, got her own apartment in Downers Grove, paid her own bills, and lived her own life. I told her, "You look good, feel good." Lucas and I are talking about getting engaged. This time, actual planning will take place rather than following someone else's timeline. That's good. Frank reached out last week and asked if we could meet. What do you say? Perhaps someday? When I'm ready. She stared at me. You're the same? We were not repaired, but we were not broken in the same way. Carol and Frank were staying in a rental in Plainfield. Frank worked in a hardware store. Carol did bookkeeping for a church. They were slowly rebuilding without the boat and without the lies. Grandma called us to the table. Cake time. My phone buzzed while we were singing. Unknown number. I ignored it. After cake I checked. Frank left a voicemail. Alex, I just wanted to say happy birthday to your grandmother. I know we aren't invited. That is fair. I just wanted you to know that we are thinking about you both and the family. We are working on it. That is all. I hope you're doing well. I saved it. I did not delete. Did not happen someday. Not today. I took my phone and walked back inside. Chloe was laughing at something Lucas had said. Grandma was cutting second slices for anyone who requested them. This, right here, this was sufficient. I took another slice of cake and sat down, forward not backward. What about you? If you found yourself in a situation like this, knowing the truth meant blowing up your family, would you do it? Or would you try to smooth things over, no matter the cost? Let me know in the comments below.